There's the
Michelle,
camera.
clean your camera.
I'm trying. It's a little better. I'm not trying to complain, but I thought I'd have a new computer by now. So,
You do. It's just not in your possession.
I know. It
At this
hasn't been for
point-
2 weeks. I feel like I am exhibiting how much I've grown in patience.
Well, one of those weeks you were gone.
Mhm. Yeah, but it was here before I was gone.
You're right. You're right. But you didn't need it while you were gone. You didn't need your computer at all because you were gone.
Yeah, I wasn't responding to you, was I? When you emailed me.
Oh, shots fired. Shot fired again. Oh. Man.
Well
Okay,
played.
no long vacations for you. No.
Well, you just don't know what it's going to be like living with me when I'm out of seminary, you know?
Oh,
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
It's a
all
whole
to
new
us.
world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing you update stuff on Facebook and comment. I'm like, what is Michelle doing?
Yeah,
that's
she's
right.
like,
She ain't got write a paper.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
This whole time we didn't think Michelle was any fun at all.
I
We
was just
were-
busy.
We were way off.
Welcome to Second Take at Eastlake, a podcast of Eastlake Community Church in Irmo, South Carolina. You are invited to join us any Sunday at 9 or 11.
Yes.
Man. So Ray, I can delete this if it's not public news. But didn't you get accepted into something? Should we announce that?
Yes. I did not announce that. I was too busy trying to collect myself.
Is it news
So
that you want to announce?
I mean, I guess I was accepted into CIU's competency-based theological Masters in Divinity program. So I'll be starting back to school soon. So stay tuned.
So
I got
one leaves and one goes
my
in. huh?
acceptance letter. What you say?
Yeah,
One leaves and the other goes in.
Yeah.
we're
mhm.
trying to keep it balanced over there at CIU.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Man.
one way
Okay.
of putting it.
So if it is a Master's of Divinity, does this mean you're going to take Greek or Hebrew or both?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Look at you go. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna say if one leaves and the other goes in, then take your time, Ray, because I don't ever want to go in. Take your time. 10-year plan sounds great to me.
Yeah.
I am not trying to do a 10-year plan, but we will see what happens.
Yeah. Well, it's just all those other things in your life that keep interfering with it, like having a family and running a church,
Yeah. Yeah. So there is that. So
Well, hey.
we'll see what happens.
Does perspective count towards it?
No. I mean,
That
it
would
gives
be an
me credits.
undergraduate
I have
degree.
credits. I have credits. I have those credits, but yeah. No, that's not on the course curriculum. So
didn't
I've
think it was.
already seen it. And so I mean, if I'm able to do it at a moderate level, I could be done in 18 months. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to get it done in 18 months
That sounds like a lot.
because Michelle is enough to handle without thinking about Rob or Philip. So
Well, I'm
the church
planning
might
on
go down.
I'm planning on being very difficult. I don't know about Michelle, but that's my plan.
Well, I don't know,
Well-
Philip. I was evidently in the remedial program because there was no one that told me I could get done in 18 months.
They did. Maybe that's what they do to get you to sign on the dotted line.
Okay.
It's a different program, just to be
Yes.
fair. It's a different program.
Let's see, the
So
dean's name, which right now escapes me. Help me out here, Ray. The
Proto?
dean of, yes, okay, so
Yeah.
Dr. Croto came up to me at graduation, congratulated me, and my mother's walking along with me, and my mom asks him how long he's been at CIU, and he says 10 years, and I looked at him, I said, same as me.
That's amazing.
He laughed, he
Oh.
said, you almost didn't make it. I said, but I did, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Do you have to
Right.
finish it in 10 years?
Yes,
You do. That's the limit.
evidently, or, have an act of God to interfere or something like that. At least in my program, that's what you had to do part-time.
Okay.
So,
All I'm saying is I'm trying to get on the fast, quick program.
yeah, the one you pay $500 on the internet and they give you a master's in divinity.
Yeah, I was gonna get my ordination. Well, after seeing your ordination, Michelle, I would have definitely gone online and just gone to ordainme.com.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Lord.
No, I was glad. I told you, Ray made it memorable. I even thanked him for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
If
everybody,
you guys see me on the back of the parking lot being roughed up, know that it's these two. Just know that it's these two.
we're out there roughing him up.
Oh, yeah. We're so bad.
Good times. Well, hey,
Uh,
did you guys have a good weekend? We had a holiday weekend. I mean, I know Ray did some really cool stuff because he was giving out water to people. I saw that
Yeah.
and I was like, well, my gosh, I'm a horrible person. I
No,
didn't
you're
give
not.
water to anybody.
So,
No, you just got a lot of people wet.
well,
You did
that is
yesterday.
true. You
I
did
hit him
give
with a
water
water
to
balloon.
people. Yeah, water balloons.
Yeah.
So,
You didn't hydrate them, you saturated them.
yeah.
I dehydrated them.
So how did you find out about the laser show and who asked you to be there handing out water?
So when we did the Juneteenth celebration, the mayor had asked, would we even think about possibly coming, because that's when he was even thinking about Philip's truck. And so he made that comment to us there, and
Okay.
we were so busy, nothing happened with it. 2 weeks later, he calls me and says, Ray, I have a guy that's going to come to Irmo Park for the laser show, and he's going to give out free hot dogs. And I would like to know if you guys would be willing to come and provide bottled waters to people. And so the time in which he told me about this, I'm like, okay, Michelle's out of town. And at the same time, I'm trying to consider how to invite people into this, and who can I trust to run point on it. So what ended up happening, it dawned on me that the day that he was asking for this to happen falls on the same night that my small group meets. And so I just told my small group, I said, hey, would you guys be interested in? And they were like, absolutely. And so that's what happened. Now, when I posted on Facebook on Monday night about us doing it, a few other East Lakers showed up to help because
Fun.
they were doing nothing on Monday night. So they stayed for the laser show, and it was cool.
Wow. I think a laser show sounds awesome. I would love to see a laser show.
It was good.
That's cool.
It's real good. They used the trees as the backdrop. So
Ooh.
you had lasers literally dancing on the trees down in the amphitheater.
Wow.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. We'll get to the point here in a second, but I can't
A
help
lot of
but wonder.
families.
What's that?
It was a lot of families.
A lot of
There's more
families.
people than they actually expected, because Irmo historically has done fireworks. And with the mayor, I'm assuming that he's heard from some of his constituents. And what he decided to do this year was to go away from the fireworks and to go to a laser show so that the veterans that suffer with PTSD can have a place that they could be with their families. And so he was uncertain of how many people would actually come out to a laser show versus fireworks, because he did get some negative feedback from individuals when they learned that they were not going to put on the fireworks display that they've done in the past, but rather do this laser show. And he basically told them, it's like, hey, there are fireworks happening all over Columbia. You have Fort Jackson, you have Lake Murray. It's like, we want to have something here for people that really cannot, and their children don't want the trauma of the exploding and popping and all of that stuff. And so they had a really good response, way more than they anticipated, which meant, I mean, we ran out of stuff, hot dogs and waters.
Okay.
Well, that's
That's
cool.
cool though. That's nice he thinks of that, because every year I almost always see on social media a veteran posting about, it's traumatic for them. I know, I have 2 dogs. One of them is like, oh, who cares? And the other one's like, ah!
Yeah,
So,
We just have to
my
drug our
dogs don't
dog.
love it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
hadn't thought
cool.
about that. I should have given her a Benadryl. That might have helped her.
That's what the vets say. Give them Benadryl, and
Give
it
them the
calms them down.
Benadryl,
Yep.
just like your kids, just like your toddlers. This is welcome to
We
the
don't know
doctor.
this.
Welcome to
Yeah.
the doctor's podcast. How to raise your. No, I'm just kidding. Gonna get flagged now. Oh man, nope. So we're in this series, Suffering Through the Summer, and the heat is definitely full swing, making us feel like we're suffering. But on a real level, Ray was teaching on, this one was the doubt trap, right? Am I making that up?
No.
Denial.
The
This was the
denial
denial.
trap.
As soon as
Rob
it
did the
came out of
doubt
my
trap.
mouth, I was like, wait a minute. The denial trap. Yep. Sorry about that, guys. But I promise I was there. Both of them start with a D. I got confused. But this was the denied trap of just like how we all handle suffering and things that are difficult in our lives. And yeah, Ray, you had us all laughing pretty good this morning or on Sunday. I was like, is Ray a stand-up comedian going on right now? It was pretty funny. But yeah, so denial, I mean, how does denial play out into suffering? Like, what's the correlation, just for those who are missing it? Like, somebody chops off your arm and you're like, my arm is not chopped off, my arm is right here. How does it play out?
Listen, I struggle to share this story, but I'm gonna go ahead and share it on here.
Uh-oh.
So you introed about me being accepted into CIU's program.
Yep.
Well, it was Wednesday of last week, and this was the day that I am pretty much done with writing this research paper that has had me literally losing sleep and my hair. And so I'm not a stress eater, but on this particular day, I felt like after producing this paper that I needed to reward myself. Now, you need to know I am not a person that eats at McDonald's. It's too processed for my body. But
wait,
once
McDonald's
a year,
is processed?
Yeah. So once a year, and this is almost like every year, I have this desire that I want a Big Mac. Okay. And every time, without fail, after I have this Big Mac, I regret it. My body helps me to remember, you should not be doing this. So last Wednesday, I finished the paper. I go to McDonald's. I get me a Grimace birthday meal, limited time thing. They give you this blueberry shake and fries and a Big Mac, or you can get 20-piece nuggets. But I just told you, I love Big Macs. So I get this thing, I come back to the church, and I'm in my office, nom, 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 nom. And let me tell you, I was staying for Summerama because it was the last night of Summerama last Wednesday. Brother, it was as if that Big Mac went into my stomach and reassembled itself, and it sat right here. I'm telling you, the whole time I was like, You're so stupid. You know this happens. You should have denied yourself of eating this burger. So now I'm suffering because this burger will not leave my system. Everybody that sees me is like, Ray, what's wrong? You don't look good. And I have to tell them this story. And they're like, are you drinking water? I'm like, I can't drink any more water. I'm sloshing around just walking. And I'm wanting this thing to move out of my body and it will not move. And so the point is, correlating it to this message, is sometimes we're in denial about the very things that actually has us suffering.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when we fail to acknowledge that, we prolong our suffering.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that this happens every time without fail. And you would think that the experience I would have had 364 days ago would be impressed upon me. Not so now the people that I've shared this with, they said, now we know. We're going to make sure you don't get another Big Mac. Or when you think about wanting a Big Mac, we're going to remind you of this instance. And I pray you do, because I know it's going to come up next year one day that, hey, it's like Satan. It's like, hey, you know you want one. You can go get you one. And by the time it hits me, Satan's gone. He's like, oh, that's messed up. That's messed up.
You are in denial about what a Big Mac will do to you.
Yeah.
No, not anymore. I'm not in denial.
Not anymore.
I'm not in denial.
Okay.
You've been reminded.
Yeah,
I've
but
been
we're
reminded.
at day 7, right? Out
Yeah.
of 365.
How
Yeah.
long will it take to forget? Oh yeah. You know what, Ray, though, that's funny because food is actually a great example of how we can be in denial. Like we can think, just this or just that. I'll just have this, but tomorrow I won't. I'll just have a bigger lunch, but I'll have a lighter dinner. But then dinner comes and here we are hungry again. Oh man, that's a perfect like entry level example of how we can be in denial of, and to bring it to suffering of the thing that ultimately is hurting us and not helping us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, we think we're in control. I mean, I think even about like your story made me think about alcohol, and like nobody thinks they're going to become an alcoholic, and nobody usually thinks they are an alcoholic.
Mhm.
Which is why, I mean, I've never been to AA, but I believe that the first thing you do is to admit I'm an alcoholic. That's the first step, is admitting that there's an issue going on.
Yeah.
Because it's just so easy to think, well, that's not me. I mean, I'm in control, but then everybody else around you sees it. Wow.
Yeah. And you know, I brought up food, you brought up alcohol, but the reality is we are in denial about many of things. And they're not always what I would call the top 5, you know, such as drugs, alcohol, maybe porn. You know, let's think about things that are really normative. Like we're in denial that we actually need to rest, or we're in denial that we actually need to slow down, or we're in denial that our marriage is actually in trouble, or we're in denial about that I really need to be a part of a community, or I need to be in a Bible study. We're in denial about many of things. All the while, we're suffering because of the denial.
Yep. So true. Well, I
Yeah.
know right now, Kristen finished working today at 12, and she texted me and she said, I'm going to sleep.
She's not in denial.
Yeah.
And I'm here with I'm here with you
feel it.
guys.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, that's why I almost didn't make this morning's prayer meeting, because like I went to bed last night, I was exhausted from the heat and I didn't set an alarm. Yeah, so I was in denial. Well, actually I had a lack of knowledge, but you know.
What's sometimes like a first step towards seeing something that you might be in denial over? Like, what are some signs or things like, so let's say a person's watching this and they're like, oh man, I don't want that to be me. Are there any signs or things that you would say, hey, this would be a good way for you to know, hey, there's some stuff that might be damaging my life, making it less than ideal that I can't see?
Well, it depends on what it is, but like we started off talking about food. So, there's nothing like the number on the scale or your pants being too tight.
That'll get you every time.
Right. Yeah. So that, you just, and that relates to a lot of other things. I mean, just like allowing yourself to see the cold, hard truth so that you can make choices, so if you don't rest well enough, I mean, you could end up with a blood pressure problem, even if you don't have a weight problem, because you're so completely stressed and you go to the
Yeah.
doctors and your pressure's up. Sometimes I've been in denial about relationships because I really want to trust people and I love people. And so it can be easy for me to give too much benefit of the doubt. And so sometimes I just have to be honest with myself, like, you know what, that person is really doesn't have your best interest at heart, and you need to be real about that.
Mhm.
So nothing like
would say-
reality.
Yep.
I would say listening, because if you really have, if you're in community, you have people around you that love you, that really love you. They've been telling you. They've been telling you, and so that means you really need to humble yourself and listen to what they have been telling you. I mean, even the Lord, because of his great love for us, he tells us,
Mhm.
and often we blow through what he's telling us, and what he'll do is he'll send people that we're in community with that we tend to listen to tell us as well.
Mhm.
And if we blow past them, the next time it's our body.
Mhm.
And by that time, it's kind of late because the doctor has told you and you ignored him. But when your body decides to start shutting down or not functioning the way that it's supposed to, yeah, that's why we
Yeah.
have to listen.
Mhm. I've found that I've made a lot of good friendships from different just different areas of my life and different things. And it is interesting to me how every friendship has like a common denominator. So like
Hmm.
these are my friends I play basketball with, these are my basketball friends. And so when you get together, all you can do is talk basketball, in the beginning of that relationship, because that's what the relationship was founded on. These are my drinking buddies. These are my, woodworking. I don't know.
Voting.
Boating buddies. Yeah, I'm making up stuff, but like there's a common denominator among a lot of friendships, and then your true friend, like your really good friends, you can just do anything with, and you're always
Mm.
good. But I say that to say I feel like a good way to see if there's a pattern in your life that you might be in denial about is to see how the scale is tipping on your friendship common denominators. Do I just happen to have a lot of buddies that all I do is eat with, or all I do is drink with, or and then wait a minute, that is beginning to define who I am
Mhm.
versus something positive. Because I always am just like looking for ways to see these things. Because if we could see them coming on, we would never let them happen. Like we think we're in control longer than we are.
Mhm.
And so, like, I want the red
Philip,
flag soon, because I do believe another common denominator to this life that God gives us is that things need to be handled in moderation. Even good things can get out of
Mm.
hand. You could take Ray's going back to do a Masters of Divinity program where you can even take theology, a good thing, and just begin to worship it, and it becomes a bad thing, like
Mhm.
everything has to be handled with this balance. And so denial is not admitting that the scale is tipped too far
Mhm.
sometimes.
right.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm always watching out for it and missing half the time, I'm sure. But you're right, friendships and different things will tell you. Okay, I got another one. What about in relationships, friend relationships, marriage relationships? um like how do we suffer in those? How can we avoid suffering by seeing the things that we are denying? Like if somebody wants to have a good relationship, let's say a marriage or friendship, and we're talking about denial and how we miss things, like how can we help people that are listening to be able to analyze and say, wait a minute, maybe I'm suffering and I have been and I need to work on this.
Well, I think one thing, there are people who have trouble making friends. And I know some people who, they're extremely negative and critical. And so when you're a negative and critical person, it's hard to make close friends because people either don't want to hear the negativity, or they're afraid that when they're not with you that you're thinking or talking negatively about them. I mean, we all have problems. That's not what I'm talking about. But I think if you want to have good relationships, you need to ask yourself, how are you approaching people? Are you approaching them that in your mind you're critiquing all the things that they could be doing differently or better? Or are you approaching them by highlighting the really good things and saying the really good things and lifting them up?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just never going to have close friends because people see that and they're like, I don't really want to risk a friendship with a person who's that critical.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I like that. Yeah. I think this requires just self-awareness.
Mhm.
Because in this book, on page 107, Paul Tripp says, no one is better at swindling ourselves than us.
Hmm.
And so, we will build all type of complexes, like a martyr complex, and those don't bode well in relationships, where you make yourself the center of everything. And when you're in denial that that's what you do, when you really look around, you don't have many friends. And it's hard to deny that when that's a reality. Here comes a holiday, you're not invited to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a big thing happening in your life that you would love to have people to celebrate it with, and no one wants to come. I mean, we all have, as Pastor Michelle said, we all have stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I can honestly say I'm thankful for at Eastlake with our staff is that we're honest with each other, where we are, what we're dealing with. And we have a pretty fantastic way of putting our arms around each other and also lifting each other up and saying, hey, because I mean, what was it, just a year ago or maybe a little more than a year ago, we all decided after, going through the pandemic, we're going to go see a counselor, everybody, because we all had stuff that we're trying to manage, work through, and move beyond. And so it's about being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like an honesty of I was thinking about this when you talked about the pandemic there at the end, of like admitting that you can't do everything in the relationship. So, this is kind of about friendship. I'll talk about marriage a little bit, in that there's a point where you will find freedom when you can admit this isn't something I'm good at. It's not an excuse, but it's an admittance that, hey, this is just something I'm not good at, whatever, communication or whatever. But by acknowledging it, your spouse can then bring it up and not feel like they're being rude. They can say something like, hey, you told me you weren't good at communication, and that's happening right now. And so I wanted to tell you that I need to know what's going on in your life because you're not communicating with me. But if the person that you're married to won't even admit that they have a problem there, then you can't ever go into that realm without being a threat, or like without them potentially being upset with you or whatever. Wait a minute. I'm not a good communicator. You kidding me? You should see me at work. I'm known for communicate or whatever. You know what I mean? I could just see the arguments that the people would have. But admitting to your loved ones, hey, these are some things that I'm just not naturally good at this. Like, I'm not naturally good at this, so maybe I shouldn't be the one that pays the bills because I like to spend money, or whatever. Like, just admitting that allows the other person to come in and kind of complete that other side of you too, or to bring it up.
Mhm.
Man, the ability. Oh, I got another one. Now I'm just
Mm.
freestyling. But this is a good question to ask. Are you a person that people feel comfortable giving feedback to?
Mm.
Do you get feedback from people, or does anybody ever really give you feedback? Because you might be a jerk. Like, you might not receive it well. That there might be a reason nobody ever gives you feedback, because you're not nice. And so they'd rather
Yeah.
just avoid it than try to help you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I just had a couple in my office who are going to run a program for us in the fall for people who are going through divorce. And yes, I'm very excited about this. And so this couple is going to do this together. They're newly married, but they had both been divorced. And so they're going to lead this program, and we're going through their questions. And one of their questions was, how do you handle it when somebody behaves badly? And so I'm kind of walking them through Matthew 18 and what you do. But I was able to say, like 90% of the time, the person in the group that is oversharing or behaving badly or talking too much, they leave group that night and they already know they did that. And so most of the time, if you set the ground rules and then you have coffee with this person, they're like, yeah, I know. But one particular time, I had a group leader come to me with a young person in their group, and I coached them through taking this person to coffee and having the discussion. And the person who was behaving badly said, you know what? I know you're right. And I have a terrible experience in groups every time I go. I'm so nervous and I don't respond well. And the leader and this person worked out a little signal. So when this person was oversharing, or when this person was doing something that wasn't helpful, the leader had a secret signal with them, and it helped them to get control of this.
I love
so
that.
There's nothing better, than having somebody who's willing to learn, because this person said, I know this behavior is hurting me and keeping me from having friendships. Now that's a person who's coming out of denial, as opposed to the person who's like, I don't know what your problem is. It's your problem, not my problem.
That's good. Coach Michelle comes through for the win.
Yeah. I love it, man. Yeah. So, a good thing to do right now is to be looking at your life coming off of Sunday and saying, are there any areas of my life that I'm struggling or suffering? Okay, so maybe I'm complaining to God right now. God, I'm suffering through not having friends, or I'm suffering through financial, hardship or whatever. Is there anything that I'm in denial about that could be causing this? Is it not that I don't make enough money? Is it that I don't know how to manage my money? Is it that, just to, and maybe if there is a trusted person in your life, to be able to ask them that. Oh man.
The beautiful thing, and I actually fear that people miss this, was that on the other side of your denial is the rest that your mind, body, and soul long for. So if you can go ahead and admit, then his peace can come in like a flood. If you're in denial that you need to be in community, well, as soon as you allow yourself to experience community, and I get it, some people have been hurt by community, but you've been also on the other end of the sword where you've hurt somebody in community. So when we humble ourselves to recognize that we too have been on the other side of the table, I mean, as long as you're dealing with people, you're going to get hurt. Sometimes you'll be the cause of it. Sometimes they'll be the cause of it, but you can pretty much guarantee that that's what we do because we're all struggling in our Christianity, our Christoformity. And so if you're in denial about anything, whatever the thing is that you're in denial of, I know you won't rest from it, but that means you got to admit. You got to first admit that there's a problem.
Well, and that's where building relationships is so important. I mean, I think it was a year or two ago, I don't know, when I said to Ray, okay, tell me what things I can't see that you see. Now, it took a tremendous amount of trust for me to ask that of Ray. I haven't asked a whole lot of people in my life or given them permission to speak into my life in that way, especially in a work environment. And so it takes developing trust with people for them to be able to tell you, because otherwise there are some things where maybe we understand or we're kind of aware that we're denying something, like whether it's overeating or staying up too late. But there can be things in our life that we aren't even aware of. I mean, the denial is so great that we wouldn't even be clued in that we had that problem. And so that's where relationship and community are important. Because if you have some people that you trust enough to say, okay, point out to me where there's something that I'm missing, that's very helpful.
Very true. What about on the suffering side of things, like somebody's suffering through something that, it has nothing to do with them. Like, let's say it's a loss in a family, and I say it has nothing to do with them, meaning that's out of their control. But, or I don't know, things like that. How does denial play into those things? I have a few ideas if you don't, just because it's so recent to me that I've had to work through. But like, because there's other kinds of suffering that really is out of our control. But denial can play into that. Want me to go?
I don't know. Yeah, go first, because I'm trying to.
One of the ones that I've experienced is that there's this trap that like things won't get better. This is just the way it is. This season of my life is over, and it is what it is. And you have to mourn that season is past, but that doesn't mean that another season won't be there. And so sometimes there's like this denial, and maybe I'm misusing the word. I don't think so though. Of that things couldn't be, there couldn't be another good season. Like, I mean, I've experienced that even when I moved. Like when I moved from California, I kind of just wrote it off as, this will never happen again. Maybe this is a little bit of doubt. But I'll never have friends this good again. This is about as good as it, and so, well, enjoyed it. Oh, well, next. And mourn that loss. But the reality is that I guess maybe this isn't denial. It might be doubt. I might be crossing over into doubt, but regardless.
Or it could be discouragement. And
discouragement. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reality is here I am 3 years later, and it's not true. There's a whole new season with wonderful people that's just as good. I don't even compare them because they're two totally different seasons. But just as good. And like life is great to be alive, and it's wonderful to have these friendships and so on. But I don't know, I get discouraged, or I think a lot of people are in denial that anything good could come again. That was the best job I could have ever had. I'll never have another job like that again. I'm just gonna suffer.
You know what, Philip, let me help you out. And all of our listeners, whether they are following online or they're reading the book, here's the beautiful thing. What you just talked about is what she's leading to this week. And here's why this is important, because all of these things start off in our mind.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Fear leads to envy. Envy, because what envy says, now we didn't spend a message on this one because we thought it tied into another one, but envy looks at the lives of everybody else and says, why can't my life be like that? You know, whether you're
Mhm.
surfing Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, whatever, you're looking at other people and you're going to God and saying, I go to church more than they do. I give more than they do. Why can't I have that life? So when now that you have a fear, your fear then shifts into envy of others, of the lives of others, that then leads to doubt. Because
Mhm.
then you begin to doubt God. You begin to doubt that God even cares, or that He loves you, or that He has good for you. And you're dwelling in the city of doubt leads to you then falling in denial, which is a slippery slope. Okay. And that slippery slope slides you right into discouragement because things won't get better
Mhm.
and your life is over. And all that you thought was or could be isn't going to be, because you've allowed your mind. This is your mind doing this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And Pastor Michelle this Sunday will speak to how to get yourself out of this slippery slope of just stinking thinking, because that's what it is, so that you can start to at least see the light and even be pulled out of this horrible thinking that you've been doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like stinking thinking that makes suffering worse.
Yep.
One of those things we bring to our suffering. I think that was the first week of the series, wasn't it? That you listed off that
It sure was.
whole list. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah, I think that happens so often. So I'm glad Michelle's going to be teaching on it, and people will feel like right now like it's just been coming from every angle. And the reality is it might be coming from every angle, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to preach Michelle's sermon, but um so I'm gonna stop. But I will come this Sunday. Come this Sunday.
Oh, look, Ray's got his boxing gloves up.
Yeah. But I think, I don't think I know. Our God knows what He's doing, and
Yes, he
He's
does.
leading you. He's growing you. He's chipping away at things, and it doesn't always feel good. But yeah, it's crazy. I just because I'm ADD and I change the subject all the time. But back to the other piece of denial. Something interesting. If you guys want a story about me that I learned about myself that nobody told me about, but I realized I did it. So I am well, here I go pumping myself up, but I feel like I'm pretty compassionate. Like I want to be self-aware. I have a high value on like I don't want to hurt somebody. And if I did, I'm really bothered by that because I just genuinely don't want to hurt somebody. But one of the things I realized I did in relationships is when something was pointed out to me, I would go and just kind of be like over the top apologizing, like too much almost. Just like, I'm so sorry I did that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Like, whoa, like just so bad. Like, I never meant to do it. But then what it did is it made people not want to tell me when there's something I could have done better because they know that I'm going to beat myself up. And so it's almost like
Mm.
this circular, like self-defense of like, now I'm not getting the true feedback because people know that he's gonna be so upset that he hurt my feelings. So then I never get to know that I hurt their feelings. Nobody even told me that. I had to self-discover that when I realized it.
Good
And
for
so,
you.
yeah, but I mean, none of us
That's
are
good
void of this stuff.
self-awareness.
Yeah, none of us
Mm-mm.
are void of this. And I don't want to be like that. I want people to feel free to say, hey, that was messed up. You shouldn't have said that or whatever, and not be worried about hurting my feelings for hurting their feelings.
Right. Yeah, because that's really hard when you've been wronged by somebody and then you point that out to them and you end up feeling like you're the one that did the wrong instead
Yeah.
of the person that you've pointed it out to.
Yeah.
That's really hard. Yeah, I could see how, but that's also, it's a natural reaction that we all have, is to feel defensive when somebody has a negative criticism of us.
Mhm.
But to be able to recognize that and then just be quiet until you can sort it out and respond appropriately that's really good and really important growth.
Yeah. Man.
You know, Philip, you asked earlier about, are you a safe person to get or give feedback? And it made me think about teaching team for us, that there's a portion of our meeting dedicated for that, for feedback, and whether it's positive, questionable, or even negative feedback regarding the message that we just preached. And we also have the ability to speak into the speaker before they speak, because they share, the 30,000-foot view of where they're going to be preaching or teaching from, and we ask one another for, hey, do you have a song or a movie clip or video or something that am I missing something? Because I mean, just to be honest, I'm not a woman. And so I know my proclivities is to speak from a male perspective because that's what perspective I hold. And so it helps to have this wonderful woman in the room to help us to say, wait, you might want to consider restating that differently, or have you thought about, or, so I hope that we maintain that as a team, because the last thing I want is for us to come together to review a Sunday and people just pat each other on the back because Sunday's already done, and there's no point in telling them, no, I need to know, did I misquote something? Did I do something wrong? Could I have done something better? Because Sunday's coming again, and I want to make sure I grow as a speaker versus become worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about that is that we do have the opportunity before we speak. And I think that saves us from a lot and keeps that relationship safe. Because then when we do have something that's more on the critical side after speaking, it's not as bad, because generally we will have caught things, like as a team, if we feel like there's a real problem with somebody saying a particular thing, we talk about it ahead of time, and that person has the opportunity to pray and seek God and decide if that's really what they're supposed to say. And it's a lot easier to do that before you speak. Yeah, on the front end. And that's what makes the back end safe, And I want to say, but if you're listening to one of us and you have a problem or a question about our message, the best time to catch us is not immediately after we've given it, but to wait and pray and find out if you're supposed to share it, because sometimes we are, and sometimes the Lord says, no, they don't need to hear that. But don't catch somebody right after speaking or being on stage. It just is not the best time. So timing's important.
Yeah.
Can you share why, Michelle? Can you share why that's not the best time?
Well, there's a number of reasons on a practical side, and you wouldn't understand this till you've done it. But there is a spiritual battle that takes place when you're teaching God's word. And at the end of your time, you're just physically exhausted. So you're not able to think as well or articulate your thoughts as well as you might be if you weren't physically exhausted. But then there is the spiritual aspect of the enemy will come at you after you've been on the stage and will hold up to you anything that he can hold up to you, like, oh, well, you messed this up, or maybe where Philip's concerned, hey, that song wasn't the best, or so-and-so missed their cue to come in, whatever it is. And so the enemy holds those things up to us, and we're already having to deal with that. And so if we can rest from Sunday, and then if there's something after you've prayed about it that you feel like you have a question or you want to ask one of us about or need to talk to us, we are open to feedback. But the worst thing in the world is for somebody to text you or call you or come up to you immediately on getting off the stage and offer you criticism. You're
Mhm.
just not in a place to receive it. So be wise. Don't be in denial.
Mm-hmm.
Philip, this makes
Yeah.
me want to ask a question, and I know we did not plan for this discussion right here. Philip, what type of spiritual warfare do you feel that you're under every Sunday as you lead? Whether you're leading a song or you're leading the band or you're leading in the room, what are you feeling like you're contending with? And what is, I mean, do you share Pastor Michelle's sentiments
Mm-hmm.
about, when it's over, you have this massive just exhaustion spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally?
Oh, 100%. 100%. On Sundays, I can finish and be flat out exhausted. I put away more calories on a Sunday morning, and it sounds so stupid to say, but it's true. I eat so much food on a Sunday morning, my body just like churns through calories and exhaustion. And I know it's different because I play music for longer other places that is not a spirit. Well, everything's spiritual, but
Yeah.
that's not like a Sunday morning type thing. And I'm fine. It's no different than just sitting at home and rehearsing. Like, it's not exhausting. It's not a big deal. Done. I'll play for 3 hours and I'm fine. But on a Sunday morning, I will finish and there is not much I can do. And honestly, just being 100% truthful, it's hard sometimes because the 11 o'clock service are the people that wake up late and they are just spry and chipper and ready to go, man. And I'd love it. Like, I don't want them to change it. You 11 o'clockers, you do you, because I love getting to lead worship at 11 o'clock. But when the service is over and everybody's just kind of hanging for a while because they just woke up or whatever, I am so tired. I am just dead out. The most tired I am all week. I could work. You guys know I work outside building things. I'll work 8 hours sweating through the sun and I won't be as tired as I am on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It
You
just,
looked this past Sunday, you looked exhausted. You were coming out because there was a lot going on. There were people trying to talk to me. I had an appointment. Somebody was waiting for me down the street and I
yeah.
was late. And I turned around and I don't know what I said or what I looked, but you were like, did you need something? And I could see like written on your face. I was thinking, if I needed something, I don't now. And I didn't need anything. But I mean, I could just see like
I was
you
so
were
tired.
tired on
Yeah.
Sunday.
And the
so
night before I went to bed at I went to bed at 9, like I'm rested. It just,
it's the spiritual. Yeah.
it is. And I think on a Sunday morning, you're carrying a lot of weight. You got all the team members, which is a wonderful thing, but you're carrying the weight of their emotions. Are they hurt because you told them they missed their part? This person might not mesh with this person as well, or whatever. Like all these different things you're orchestrating that nobody knows is going on, and you're trying to make it, a God honoring, worshipful morning, and then also people being mad at you for whatever, or you feel they're upset with you for whatever you've done, or oh yes,
And
I'm
this is
exhausted just thinking about it.
and this isn't even including our own personal stuff.
Oh
Ray,
no.
who has time to think about their personal stuff on Sunday morning?
Nobody.
I mean, whether they had their marriage is good, their relationship with their children is solid, whatever. That's without all of that, because we're living with other sinful people just like you are.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of that clip you sent me, Philip, from John Mark Cromer, about how the most holy or critical thing that we're doing on a Sunday morning is when we preach, and he's preaching with an instrument though. But what's happening, we are proclaiming to the kingdom of darkness truths about an eternal God. And they're not just going to sit idly by and let us do this without trying to ruffle the feathers of us or to knock us off of our square. I mean, it's like a coliseum where the angels of God and the people of God, and then you got the forces of darkness. They're like, oh, you think you're gonna play that song? We're gonna mess with the electronics, or we're gonna get in somebody's earpiece and they can't hear, and it's full on warfare.
It is, man. And
It
then,
is.
as if that's not enough, and then you finish, if you're like me, and this is why Michelle says, don't tell people right after the sermon. They're already beating themselves up. We know we don't say everything perfect. We know that. I don't wake up in the morning and think I'm going to say everything perfect. And so on the way home or that afternoon, you're thinking about what you said. I shouldn't have said this. Was I rude to this person? Did I say too much here? Did I smile but move on too quickly past this person because I know they wanted to have this conversation? And you're like, man, I don't know. And then it's just Satan just comes after you. And then you have to just let it all go.
Yep.
And just what was said was said. And, they want to fire me, they'll fire me. But I didn't
'Cause if
mean
we
it.
don't
I'll
let it go,
apologize where I need to apologize,
y'all, if we don't let it go, and this is serious, discouragement is real.
Mhm.
Yep, it is. It's very real.
Yeah, it is.
And we're talking to ourselves.
Yeah. And then somebody comes up and says, hey, I couldn't help but notice that you and when you quoted this passage, the Hebrew says, and you're like, I can't with you right now. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
Are you kidding me?
Come to me on Tuesday. Give me a
Yes.
day. Give me a day to just kind of like get back to humanity. And I mean, I know for people that don't have to do it, they probably think, okay, they might be romanticizing their jobs. They think they're more important than they are. I'm telling you, get up there and lead worship. And don't be, I'm not going to say singing is hard. Sing sometime, but just be in charge of the whole thing. And then talk to me. Be in charge of every cable working, every projector screen, every computer, every slide turn, every personality. And then talk to me. And then call me.
Oh.
Anyways, this is
But we
getting
should
real. We're getting
hey,
real.
hey, we should have a day where, hey, you do it. So so you got okay. We gonna have you lead worship next week,
Uh-huh.
and you're gonna preach, and you're gonna do groups, and you're gonna run the online church, and we're just sit back and watch.
We'll sit there with a notepad.
Yeah.
Only because I have had some people with notepads during service before.
Ah,
Making notes,
that's
not
too
notes for
funny.
what God's saying, notes for the mistakes you make.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
You're leading worship and you sit out and you're like, oh, that person's taking notes, aren't they?
Oh
Not
man.
taking notes while you're leading worship. No, not during worship are you taking notes.
It's happened more than once.
Oh, that's too funny.
You guys are
Oh
too
my
much. We
goodness.
probably are getting too honest now. Now that people now this
Yeah.
is a
We're not
podcast.
in denial. You
Yeah.
can we're not in denial.
We're not in denial. No, we are not in denial. And we still love each other and all the people.
We do.
In
So
spite of all that, yeah, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else than what God's called me to do because it is good. Yes.
and
But
you know what
yeah.
feels the
Guys,
best?
you don't know the trouble I had to get Michelle to come back from Michigan.
You know what the best is though? If you're a person out there that you're hearing us kind of rant a little bit and you're thinking, man, I hate that they feel that way. I would love to make their life easier. Well, I'll tell you how you can do it. Michelle is preaching this Sunday. Pray for Michelle, right? Every day this week, pray for Michelle. If you've never prepared a sermon, it's no joke. It's hard. Pray for Michelle. And then one of the best things, I don't know about you guys, but when there's people that are sitting out in church and they look honestly interested, they're smiling, they look interested, and they seem like they're glad to be there. Those are it's so encouraging, as opposed to the people who don't mean bad, but the people who are kind of have this look of like, I don't know, convince me. Those are so hard. That's a hard crowd. Don't be that.
Yeah, no, be in the amen corner.
Be in the amen corner. We like it. It's nice. Just smiling, and like it feels so good to get up and teach or lead worship and feel like people are behind me, not people are wondering if I'm gonna mess up.
Yeah.
How are they gonna do this thing? And most of the time they're not, but it's the head games. It's the head games in our head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we
So-
got to shut this podcast down. You guys talk too much. We went too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
We
gonna have
did
a
go too
fit
long.
getting this thing uploaded.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we
If
gotta
it
go.
doesn't go
Everybody.
live, we'll know why.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see. We love everybody. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Eastlake Community Church is an intentional, multicultural community empowered by the Holy Spirit. We passionately pursue a loving relationship with God and everyone Jesus was sent to die for, here, near, and far.
Yeah, maybe Ray, you could test your microphone doing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air rap.
Oh, wait.
How
If
does
I'ma
it go?
do
What does
that-
it start?